finding abundance for me came through loss, which sounds a little counterintuitive. But I say to myself all the time, if today was the last day, is this how I'd want to feel? Is this how I'd want to be living it? And if you ask yourself that, most of the time the answer is no. If you're anxious or you're angry or you're whatever, you're like, no, that's not how I want to feel today.
Right.
And that's how you make the change happen. You bring awareness to it.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Secrets to Abundant Living podcast audience, welcome to another fantastic episode. I am Amy Sylvis, your host, and of course, the founder and CEO of Sylvis Capital. And I have a treat for you all today. I have Miss Brandi Holder, who I've known for several months, but I got to tell you, the very first time I met her, I thought, oh my gosh, my audience is going to love to get to know her and hear her story. So buckle up. And Brandi, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Amy. I'm really excited to be here today. Your podcast is really fun, and I'm looking forward to having a chat today.
Oh my goodness. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I have had a long, winding story in my career, as most of us had. It's not been very linear, but I come through the corporate world, and my curiosity led me to starting my own business. I always like to tell people that I've been in marketing since MySpace was a thing, if that tells you how long I've been doing marketing and branding. But about 9 years ago, I kind of got that itch to try something different. I was very curious about, what it meant to have my own thing. And so now here we are 9 years later. I did branding and strategic communications consulting for a long time. But now I really find that my life's passion is working with people who have experienced dramatic shifts in their life or have gone through something that really changed them. Because I got to tell you, Amy, they are the most powerful agents of change. So that's really what I'm doing now is coaching executives and one-person businesses and really helping them understand how they can utilize this newfound gift they have and really just bring it into the forefront of everything that they're doing.
Oh my goodness, that is so powerful. I love that you're leaning into that. And I know that we can get into kind of maybe what's informed some of that decision to do that as well. But I can imagine that gives you so much meaning to be able to apply your skills to, people in that space. I bet you love that.
Absolutely.
Well, as you know, the podcast, we love to talk about abundance. And and I talk to the audience, I talk to dozens and dozens of high net worth individuals monthly. And across the board, they tell us, yes, money is great, money is fine. But my goodness, there are so many other aspects of life where abundance is more meaningful, is more important. And money is really just kind of the vehicle often to get to these other sides of abundance. What does abundance mean to you? We'd love to hear and understand Brandi's definition.
I'm going to start with the story. So I remember my very first year in the dance company at Purdue University. Go Boilers. We were on the stage for the very first time, and the whole company was there. We had this beautiful Vivaldi going in the background, and we're crashing into each other. The whole company's there. We don't know how to use the space. We can't make it work. And so the instructor stops us and says, okay, for this go round, instead of looking at the person that's in front of you and where you're going, I want you to look for the spaces between each person. Look for the spaces between the bodies and go there. Okay, that sounds a little weird, but we start and then we have this really beautiful session. We go through the piece, it's really gorgeous, and we stop and she says, we find what we seek, right? So if you're seeking space, that's what you're going to find. But if you're looking at the body in front of you, that's where your body is going to go. And so, we seek what we find, or, we find what we seek isn't exactly like a new concept, but it wasn't until more than 20 years later that memory really locked a new understanding for me. So when you're looking at abundance in your life, you're going to find it. Whereas if you're looking at what you lack, you're going to find the evidence to support that as well. So I think it's not about that we're sitting on piles of money and that everything is going right in our world and our business. It's that it's really something beyond joy and happiness in the everyday. It's that deeper sense of satisfaction and peace that comes from within, regardless of our external circumstances. So I think that's really what abundance means to me.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. I think you're the first person on this podcast to frame it like that. And really, I love this concept of it isn't necessarily that everything's perfect. If I'm, let me know if I'm getting this right, but it really is, finding that abundance no matter where you are or what kind of external circumstances throw at us. Wow, that's not easy.
No.
Right? Like, no, I want everything to be perfect. I want it the way that I want it to be. And so maybe not necessarily thinking of abundance as a destination, as we often talk about it, but it's simply you're already at that destination and focusing your eyes maybe on that space, as you said, as opposed to focusing on the people in front, to continue that analogy, and really finding it where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I love how you said it too. That's great.
I feel like I just repeated what you said, but I am an external processor. So yeah, just thinking through what you said. Wow. So I'm imagining that, have you always been like that? Has this been a kind of a perspective change on abundance for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I did not have this perspective for most of my life. It really, I was that person that thought abundance meant working and really filling my bank account, like being abundant in my bank account. And I don't want to be dismissive of that, because although money can't buy happiness, it pays the bills, right? So I don't want to be dismissive of that. It's really important. And I'm really grateful for the success I had, but it just always felt like there was something that was really lacking. Like it was never enough. It was never, enough money. It was never enough movement. It was just like, I wasn't going fast enough. And it was when my husband got sick. He was diagnosed with cancer 44 days into our marriage. And you just don't even, that's not even like a thing that you think is going to happen to you, right? And so it was after I realized he wasn't going to make it that I started to really think about, Amy, started to think about, like, if this was me, what would I want? Like, yeah, the money is great and it takes a lot of the issues off the table, but think about like the stories. We want more stories, more experiences, right? Like those last minute trips that you take that you talk about for the rest of your life, or when you burn dinner and you're like, get dressed up and just go out and eat dessert, or like dancing at a friend's wedding, or like swinging on the little kids' swing sets under the stars, So as I started to collect those memories for him, it really made me step back and realize how much of my life I was hoarding and protecting, that I wasn't being abundant with my time and my space and my relationships. And that was just really, thinking about collecting those stories and what that meant really changed my life in a very profound way.
Wow. Wow. What a perspective change. And not something, it sounds like you weren't walking around asking for a perspective change, right?
Yeah.
That happened to you. Yeah. Like, hey, I'd like to go through a major life event that's very, the most difficult you've ever been through, I would imagine. And get that perspective change. But I love how beautifully you summarize that, because culture really teaches us, at least in my experience, let me know if you agree, but really teaches us the money is that pinnacle. And I'm not one to vilify it. I don't think it's, the root of all evil or the worst thing ever, but we all do have limited time, limited focus, limited, capacity to, to spend our days. So are we, as you said, making those sacrifices to chase that money, and maybe instead of pursuing other, like, memories, as you perfectly said?
Yeah, the stories. Because think about it, at the end, that's what people tell about us.
Yes.
Remember that time Amy did that thing, or we went on this trip, or like, that's what we have at the end. And I feel like when you're really wealthy in something, it's having collected those experiences, because those experiences are not just about having fun in that moment. It's about deepening your perspective in life and how you operate and who you come in contact with, and touching other people's lives just by being in it. And so, like, when you think about collecting those, like, that's what I really think of these days, is like, how can I collect more of those moments?
Wow. And what I love about what you're saying is these stories can't necessarily be bought. I mean, maybe they buy, money helps you buy the plane ticket or the entrance to the amusement park or, something like, maybe there's money involved, but these relationships that we talk about here on the podcast, or the creating meaning or giving back, or whatever the stories are that you're collecting in terms of these experiences, they really they don't always involve money, which makes them even more special and kind of puts an exclamation point on that. Correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Very interesting. So what are you doing? I'm hopping around a little bit, but it takes a very strong person, in our case, strong women, to kind of root ourselves in maybe a different definition of abundance, when obviously money is necessary, right? We have to pay our bills, we got to buy food, but you have this shifted awareness given this horrendous tragedy, you went through. How do you remain firm in what you want your life to look like and how you bring abundance to your life? Because I'm imagining it might be a struggle sometimes. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, as you know, and probably other people you've worked with, when we get these things that happen to us, it's not like the shift comes overnight. We're like,
Right.
we wake up and we're like, sweet, I like everything's great. And I have this new understanding, right? There's always like this pull of guilt or anger, or, there's just some things that come up as why me, a little bit of that victimization that comes through, like why I think that for me, it's about really listening to my internal dialogue, right? So really, really bringing awareness to what am I saying no to? What am I and why? What stories am I telling myself about what I can and can't have? Or in those moments of like quiet defeat, what you say or perceived defeat. So I think for me, that's what it is. It's like really listening. It was really, really listening to that and bringing awareness to it so that I could change it. Because you can't change what you're not aware is happening, right? So if you've got, and we do this, people do this very universally. Our self-talk is, can be very difficult. And so I think a lot, like I think I said to you in the beginning before we even hopped on, I think finding abundance for me came through loss, which sounds a little counterintuitive. But I say to myself all the time, if today was the last day, is this how I'd want to feel? Is this how I'd want to be living it? And if you ask yourself that, most of the time the answer is no. If you've got, if you're anxious or you're angry or you're whatever, you're like, no, that's not how I want to feel today.
Right.
And that's how you make the change happen. You bring awareness to it.
Wow. Our brains are so interesting, right? I always think of, I don't know if you ever saw Men in Black.
Yeah.
It's a weird analogy, but how the alien is kind of in the brain, driving the body around.
Yes.
Conscious. There's just so much going on in our brain that we may not even have awareness of that's driving these decisions. So I love that you bring up the fact that, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but a big step is just being aware of that dialogue, or being aware of the thoughts, or being aware of what might be going on, because it's really impossible to address something unless you're aware of it. And then from there, so much change is possible if that's what you want, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh.
The first time I ever worked with a coach, that was like the first thing that we talked about was like, what are you saying to yourself? And I was like, what do you mean? What am I saying to myself? Because I think it's just exactly like you said, it's just going on in the background. It's noise. And we just are, at least for me, my experience was I was completely unaware of the internal dialogue that I was having with myself, or that it could even be changed.
Yeah.
Yes.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because I was going to ask you if you went on a journey to kind of address this or how this came up. So it sounds like you worked with a coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've hired a couple of coaches in my career that was, they were really did some profound shifts for me, just kind of giving me, as you said earlier, being an external processor, just having someone to like bounce ideas around. But, also like, one of the things that I always tell my clients that I think is so important is to have a celebration circle, to say your dreams out loud to somebody who's rooting for you. You know what I mean? Our parents and our friends sometimes want to give us like their protected version of us. You know what I mean? And it's not that they're not rooting for us, that they're like, oh man, are you sure? Whereas if you really find someone in your celebration circle who's like, heck yeah, Amy, you can do that. That's crazy, but let's do it anyway. Just finding those people, because scientifically, and I did go back for some research for this, it does change your brain. It changes the neural pathways. It changes the blood flow in your brain so you can have more innovative solutions. Bringing yourself into that calm state really can just change how you think about things. And I don't know, for me, it was a really eye-opening experience to realize how much power I had.
Empowerment. I love that you talk about that you worked with a coach, because I think, and actually you and I were talking about Joseph Barkley,
Yes.
the fact that you really enjoyed listening to him. And I had the privilege of, hearing him many Sundays for several years. And he always brought up, not always, he often brought up the fact that you need someone else that has that's in your corner and has your best interest at heart, but that can see your blind spots, because we all have them. LeBron James has a coach. Tiger Woods has a coach. Kobe Bryant had a coach. These are people at the pinnacle of their career or their skill in what they do, and they still had people, helping them. So obviously, those are all sports and all guys, but it doesn't mean that we, regardless of where we are in our life, looking for personal development, professional development, that we can't have someone not only helping us see these blind spots and asking the tough questions, but the celebration circle. What a delightful idea that is.
Yeah. That was kind of where that came from me, from having those coaches as my celebration circle, because I had not done a very good job, where I was before my husband got sick, about deepening my network and my relationships. And so as things fell apart for me, I was like, oh no, I need some inspiration in my life.
Right.
And so bringing those, therapists and coaches and counselors and bringing my network and my friends into that was really helpful. But it is a lot of what I talk about with my clients draws from the athletes, because they are the highest expression of performance, right? And we can all bring that into our own lives. Serena Williams, Venus Williams, they had coaches. We watched a movie about it, right? Like,
yes,
everybody that is at that really high level can still use somebody, in that corner, exactly like you said. And it just, I don't know, I think it just helps you think a little bit bigger, because it feels really safe to be talking with someone who has no skin in the game for your outcome, right? They're like, yeah, let's do this thing.
Yes. And having it be outside of your friends and family, because your friends and family, not that they're not in your corner, but they may see you as the previous version of yourself, as opposed to who you're trying to become, right? Or they may have some sort of, maybe they're not even aware, but they may have some sort of agenda of keeping you where you are, or like you said, keeping you safe. So having someone who's completely independent, that sees very clearly where you want to go, maybe they are where you want to go, or they've helped other people get there, can be so powerful. I used to work with a woman, actually, she was on this podcast, Sharon Gleason out of Australia, who taught me at the end of the day to write down 5 wins that I had, and kind of that gap in the gain concept of helping the brain realize and recognize and see progress can be such a great way to, like you said, enhance those neural pathways or lay down new ones. The science around that is so juicy and cool.
Yes. Yeah. I love that you were doing that too. What a great suggestion, because I think we forget, we get through our day and we move on. And then I think sometimes we don't even know what we accomplished. And when we're having those moments where maybe things aren't going as well, and you have that evidence file to go back to, is really helpful too, because then you could be like, oh yeah, I totally got this. Look at all this stuff that I have done and accomplished.
Yes. Look at how many times things have gone well when maybe I didn't expect them to. That's good brain training. Yeah, I love that. I am very guilty myself. Even last week, I went to the doctor in Denver. Everyone here knows about my, the fact that I live with cystic fibrosis, but my health is incredible and not the highest lung function I've had in 10 years. And I'm all excited. And here I am back in LA going, okay, on to the next goal. I haven't really taken the time to celebrate. I know, shame on me, but it's, I'm on to the next thing already, but it's important that we take that time to celebrate.
I agree. I wish I had my confetti with me. Sometimes I pop confetti in my meetings. I would throw some confetti for you because that is a really big deal. So I'm excited for you. I'm celebrating for you.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. Thank you. Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. We'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show. Well, I'm curious. It sounds like you've gone through it a lot. You've brought in great people to help you. Obviously, you help other people. Is there anything else in the abundance realm that you're interested in bringing into your life into the future?
Yeah, I think it's just continuing to think really big about what I can accomplish, right? It's putting all those stories out there and connecting with people. That's always what I'm trying to do, is think about really deepening my network and my relationships and showing up, really, really showing up for people, having them be seen and felt heard. And, as we do that, we really give a gift to somebody, right? And we give a gift to ourselves too. And so thinking about that, but also just, I've had this book I've been working on for a while and thinking about what those bigger stages look like for me, where I'm going to go with that and what that's going to mean as I put it out there. So yeah, just really just being excited about what I've been working on.
Love that. Can you tell us more about the book? Can we get a preview?
Yeah, so it's been in the works for about 4 years now. So anybody that's ever written a book, I think you probably know there's a couple versions you throw away first. So I've been through a couple of throwaway versions, but it's really about my research and talking to people and my own experience of what it means to find true and deep contentment in your life, right? It's something past that joy and happiness. It's not those sudden burst moments. It's really, really having that anchor, even when things are not very good, that pulls you through. And so it kind of is based off of the framework I work through with my clients that really starts at the mental and physical well-being. Because if you're not healthy and you're not taking care of yourself, that stuff doesn't really matter, because when you feel bad, it's hard to do anything else. The same thing for like self-worth and confidence. If you don't have those two things, that makes it really difficult to build the other foundations. Or if you don't have psychological safety in your relationship, or you don't think that you can bring enough clients into your practice, or, whatever that looks like for you financially. So we really, really work on that stuff first. It's almost like the Maslow's hierarchy, right? You kind of have to start at the base. And then as you work through those things, we get into the bigger things that bring you into that feeling of contentment in your life as you work through all your stuff. So yeah, it's been really fun. People have shared their stories with me, and it's just been really great to meet people going through really profound things in their life and willing to share that.
Incredible. Do you have an estimated release date?
Well, when I talked about this in my network on LinkedIn, I have a guy that's been in my network for a really long time. And he said, your business is 9 years old this year. Next year at 10 would be a really great release date for this book. And so he's been giving me these little prods all along, which I really appreciate. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're on track for right now.
Perfect. I can't wait. I know you'll be all over social telling us so we can buy it and refer to other people. And I love to gift books to people too. I love to buy a copy for myself and then buy several for friends and things like that. So I'll be really excited. I'm sure our audience will be too. It sounds like an incredible book.
Thank you. And yes, gifting books is so much fun. I love that you do that.
Yeah. One of our previous guests, the author of The Go-Giver, or one of the authors of The Go-Giver, Bob Burg, when I used to teach my LinkedIn Capital Raising Secrets course, I gift every single one of my students the Go-Giver book. If you're on LinkedIn, the algorithm is perfectly defined by the Go-Giver book. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I know, it's a great secret.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm such a like nerd for books. So
Oh my gosh. Well, and the cool thing too is Bob Burke's all over LinkedIn. So if you tag him or talk about him, he'll show up and interact. And I mean, it's the coolest thing ever.
oh, that's fun too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, gosh, this has been so amazing. We have a lot of listeners, Brandi, that are feeling stuck, that maybe are feeling lost. They're feeling like they're in the rat race and they just aren't quite sure how to bring this kind of elusive abundance into their lives outside of just the money part, whether it's their relationships, contribution, giving back to people, even just enjoying their own hobbies. You've dropped some really great advice, but do you have anything else that you would say to speak life into these folks who are in this spot where they feel a little stale and stagnant?
Well, first of all, you're not alone.
Good.
I have been there. I spent a long time in my life really not understanding, that I had the power to move forward. And so I know I've heard your other guests say this, but I have to echo it. Like, you have so much power to change your thoughts and feelings. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I always tell people, like, I've come all the way over to the woo-woo side now. I was like kind of like on the really scientific, nerdy side. And now I'm like, the cookies are better over here. You know what I mean? Like, it's just way more fun over here. But it's not woo-woo, because it really does matter how you talk to yourself and what you say you can have and achieve. And so I always say to anybody that asks me that question, that really, really going deep into your old stories about, what you think you can have and where you are, and really thinking about where those came from is going to be very, very revealing to you. It's kind of like an onion. You peel one back and you go, okay, well, I get where that story came from. And then all of a sudden there's like 3 more and you're like, wait a minute, this is not what I was thinking was going to happen. So I don't know if you had that experience in your life, but I went through that a few times, but it's much better on the other side. I'll say that as well. But yeah, just really listening to those stories and, really thinking about what it is that you want your stories to look like at the end of your life. Thinking about, as you're collecting your moments in your life, the stories that people are going to tell about you when you're gone. We can do that now.
So empowering, so hopeful. I just love that. I received a message recently from a listener. She listens to this podcast while she's going through chemo. And I always keep her in my mind. I'm not going to name her. She didn't give me permission to share, but I just think of just this ability, Brandi, that you're giving for people to imagine what can be, what will be, thinking this amazing life into fruition, no matter where folks are in life. And, it may take some work, as you said, that onion, gosh, I've peeled some for myself. I continue to do it. It's work, but the juice is worth the squeeze, because if we're telling ourselves stories that are limiting us, we may be putting effort into something and not getting where we want to go, when it, truly we might be holding ourselves back, not on purpose, but just because we haven't gone through some of that work. So what I hear is empowerment. What I hear is hope. What I hear is just living life to the max, which is so amazing.
Yeah, I love the way you said it. And the juice is worth the squeeze. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I have a really good friend and a former client, and I always ask her, she's a chef. And I always ask her, like, what is it that you can do all this really amazing stuff with these simple ingredients? Why? Why is this so important to you about food and drink? And she said, it's the juice of life. And I always think about her, and now I'm going to think about you too. But yeah, I think when you're going through it, just bringing inspiration in, bringing hope in, can really just change where you are, even if it's just for a few moments. You're
amazing. Mic drop. Brandi, how can folks get a hold of you? Because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, I just need a Brandi in my life. No matter what capacity it is, we all need us some Brandi. So how can folks get a hold of you?
I love to be on LinkedIn. So please come over and find me on LinkedIn. It's Brandi L. Holder. And I would love to connect with anybody on there. And that's where I'm sharing everything I'm working on, and the book and my email list and all that good stuff. And I always love meeting new people and hearing what they're doing too, because that is the story that we're doing, right? We're collecting the stories and meeting new people.
Beautiful. We'll put that in the show notes. And yeah, if you all aren't on LinkedIn, you're missing out on a lot of cool people, information, stories, hangouts. It's it's really a great place. Shout out to the Yona Weiss for getting me on there and more active. But Brandi, this is really special. Thank you so much for sharing just inspiration, hope, your story. We eagerly await your book, and I'm just so grateful to know you. You're an amazing woman.
Same. Thank you. And I got to give you a shout out too, because your podcast and the stuff that you share on LinkedIn is very cool and very inspiring too. So I'm always on the lookout.
Thank you. I stand on the shoulders of giants. Thank you so much. Everyone, please give us a rate and review and share this episode if you enjoy it. If you enjoyed it, we have had so much fun recording this, and it always helps to share the goodness. So we'll see you all in the next episode. Bye, y'all.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.